Hello, welcome to Mystic Melodies Tune In Tuesdays. I'm LaFlamme. I'm excited about this episode because it revolves recording your piece. That's the end goal, right? And as well, it's designed for any level and really any artistic style that has sound. So you don't necessarily have to be a musician. You could just be working on a musical composition or your voice or a poetry or maybe just telling a story, something along that line. And the whole thing in a nutshell is basically anchoring the soul's legacy in sound, right? And then connecting that with source and universe. So let's jump right in. As you know, I've mentioned in the episodes before, creating that space, that creative space in which we can capture our creative process, right? And I've talked about using candles, doing some meditation, really just setting up that place that gives you that peace and ability to sort of relax and connect. So we're going to jump right in. So after you have that space, we're going to talk about why recording is such a wonderful process. Okay, so to break it down, we have three different parts, right? So we have the record and review, then the resonate process, and then the refine and dedicate process. And so I'm going to just kind of briefly step through those. Hopefully it won't be too long. But this is really for any level, whether you're a beginner or a pro. And so the very first thing, obviously, is that you just want to do it. You just want to get a recording, okay? And you're not looking for perfection. You're not looking at this stage for something to release, right? You're just looking to get it down so you can enjoy this process of reviewing it and finding out how it resonates with you. I've done a lot of studio work, professional studio work over the years, and truthfully, I wish I had some of my own techniques that I'm sharing with you when I was in the studio for on and off, for decades. But it can be stressful, right? Trying to nail that perfect recording. Well, this isn't necessarily that, okay? A lot of people can research about how to work in the studio and what's demanded and understanding the metronome and the recording process and all that. Now, it is fun to sit and review it in the booth. That's true. But this is just for, any device that you may have that you can record and review and get that outward perspective, that higher inner self review, and looking at it from, and listening and looking as opposed to just hearing it while you're recording it, right? So the getting it down is first and foremost, and remember not to be too hard on yourself, right? You're just wanting to get kind of the gist of the whole thing. The rough draft is something that you can bite your teeth into and really begin to resonate and dissect it a little bit more, right? So you're going to listen to your intuition, right? You're gonna feel it out, and you're gonna lay it down, and you're gonna be proud of it, and you're gonna like it. And the interesting thing is, as I mentioned before, I'm a private music instructor, and I teach several different instruments at several different levels. And my record and review process has become really common. And I find that at first, students are quite nervous to record and listen back, right? They're just used to sort of like getting up, performing it, and being done with it, and challenging them to look deeper and below it all, and to be introspective and to hear beyond what they had just played is really exciting, actually, and it's very, very helpful. So I definitely recommend that, not just for yourself, but if you're a teacher too. It's very, very cool. Once you've got that down, you really want to just sit in a nice space, invite source, invite universe, and your higher self. Tap into that intuition, and feel that voice, feel those vibes, hear those sounds, the rhythm, the tempos, the whole thing. So not looking at from a standpoint of critiquing, but more so of tapping into the depth of it, right? Really understanding what you're sharing and the importance of that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But, just being a witness to what your soul just expressed, right, is super cool. It's amazing to listen to yourself. And a lot of people aren't entirely comfortable about that, but I highly recommend it. It's really a beautiful experience for sure. So some of you that may be more, tapped into your tuition at a deeper level and are, familiar with like asking source and universe or spirit, whatever your higher source is, and tapping into your inner self and kind of gelling that all together, might have a little bit, more experience with this process. But it's, it's basically tapping into a download from universe, right? And listening to what you were given from, like I said, from a different perspective, and having that strong intuitive connection to where you can hear even the most subtle dynamics, the little subtle cues that you can tap into and really, apply that to your work, right? To the creative process that you're doing, to the piece that you're working on. And understanding your intentions, right? Like, what is your goal? What is it you're really wanting to have? What do you want to experience out of this process? So, and then the final review, I always encourage just to listen back, try to hear the divine truth, try to tap into your higher self, focus on your spiritual journey as you have a wonderful time with self-love and appreciating the expression, while you're working on finalizing this song. And the most important thing too is that you're capturing your creativity, right? And you're, like I said, creating that soul's legacy through sound. And you're going to put that down and have something amazing to offer your friends and your family, right? And yourself to reflect back on later and see your musical journey. I think it's fantastic. And a lot of times you can journal about it too, right? If you're a journaler, which I am. And then after that, I think that you take a little break, maybe take a couple of breaths. Maybe it was a little stressful recording that. Maybe just come up with a nice sentence, a little self-affirmation, a little self-love, and remind yourself, how wonderful you are and that you're a creative being full of energy, light, and love. And then sit down and record it again and again until you have that recording that you're happy with, right? It's a wonderful experience. And then lastly, once you've got that down and you're satisfied and, you feel content and pleased, you want to celebrate, right? Honestly, you want to celebrate that you created this wonderful piece of art, this wonderful piece of sound. And I would consider dedicating it to universe, right? Making that wonderful spiritual connection, coming up with maybe just a one line that, gives thanks, right? And says, you appreciate that connection and that creative process together. So that's really kind of all of it in a nutshell. So I hope that you enjoy that. I'd love to hear any thoughts or responses that you have, or even a piece that you've worked on recording. And it's so great to put together this repertoire that honors your journey, like I said, that you can share with friends and family, and that you can share your spiritual experience that you have with Source and Universe while doing so. So I'd love to hear that. Thank you so much for tuning in to Tune In Tuesdays by Mystic Melody. And you can check out my Rumble channel, Fire with N, capital N, that's Fire with N. And then I also have my YouTube up, which is Mystic Melody, both M's capitalized. So please, if you would, I need a couple more subscribers for Rumble. It'd be awesome. So please like and share, and I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you.